Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2, Episode 16, Afterlife. This is definitely an episode I was excited to see because it was the first real look at S.H.I.E.L.D., or the S.H.I.E.L.D. team after they'd been separated. And we got to see all the different little facets of where everyone is. And by the end of this episode, we actually got another little facet with Fitz being separated and kind of going off on his own. So it was definitely a great episode. It was really fun to watch Coulson and Hunter are gonna team up and try to figure things out, like what the heck are we gonna do. We got to see Peterson come back, which was definitely awesome. That was probably my favorite part because I'd been thinking, like, where is he? Like, he was a real huge deal, in season one, because he was obviously like the closest we had to a superpowered character. And in this episode, he comes back. He's got even more upgrades. He's like, got a full on suit and stuff, and he's kind of got like a symmetrical look going on instead of sort of the bits and pieces look that he had before. He's in like full control of his implants and stuff. He has the upgrades, like when he was looking at the schematics for the Quinjet and stuff like that. So it was great to see him come back. I'm excited to see him. I don't know if they're gonna kind of make him a regular again, like he was in season one, but at least for a while, at least the next maybe 5 or 6 episodes or so, he's gonna be working with Coulson and Hunter, and they're going to be looking for Ward now, who's off on his own with, I believe her name is Agent 33. And so they're going to have to go find him. He's obviously insane, so who knows how that's going to play out because he's just still a crazy character. But they're going out. They have to find him in order to find Skye. We got to see Skye run into her mother, which is the craziest part of the episode to me, because when she was standing in the doorway and was like, stop, and they pan over to her, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how is she alive? So that was my favorite part of the episode, seeing this character who we thought was dead. Like, this was Skye's father. This was his entire reason for vengeance. And so I'm guessing he found out after he was taken there, because he obviously wasn't surprised when he seen her in the episode. But that was a huge shock to me, and she obviously didn't reveal herself to Skye saying, like, I'm your mother. But it's got to come out at some point. She has to kind of talk to her. Maybe it won't happen until Skye kind of masters her abilities and things like that. And she'll feel like, hey, now that you've mastered your abilities, I can tell you this obviously, gigantic secret, and you won't lose control and, kind of go crazy and destroy a bunch of stuff. But it was a great reveal to have her come in there. We got to see Raina again. The scene between Raina and Skye also introduced Skye having more of a focused version of her ability where it's solely attached to one specific object, and in this case, it was Raina because there were a billion reasons. And I thought that was definitely cool. We got to see her have like sort of a focused version of her powers where she shakes an individual literally to their core, and she could have killed her if she kept going with sort of this internal seismic activity. So that was really cool, and of course at some point she'll harness that and she'll be able to master it and stuff. And we got a little taste of that, like with the water, where she has these vibrations and she can tap into these vibrations and control this stuff. So it was cool to see that focused version on an actual human and not just like, here's water or something. It was like an actual living object. So I thought that was definitely pretty cool. We got to meet Lincoln, who has like lightning powers, which I always think is like the coolest thing ever. But he has cool powers. He's kind of helping her out, and he's obviously like our introduction into this whole society where things are a little weird. Like Gordon has to ask permission of certain people. I would have to assume Skye's mother is one of those people, considering how long she's been guiding people and raising them to adapt to their powers and stuff like that. So I would have to assume she's at least one of the people, and then there are just others that we haven't come across yet. But it was really cool. It was nice to get sort of afterlife and get to see this little society. And another one of my favorite parts is when Lincoln was explaining to Skye how she kind of jumped the line and stuff, and it's like people are looking at her because they're just jealous. Like, they're a bit jealous. And admittedly, Skye has like the optimal outcome, because if it was raining, I don't think they'd be nearly as jealous. Like, I don't want to look like that or anything. But with Skye, it's just like, I look exactly like me, but now I have superpowers, and it's really cool and stuff. And that's not how it always is. Gordon isn't that way, but even his isn't nearly as dramatic as with Raina, where she has spikes. coming out of like every pore, out of her body, or every couple of pores, here's a spike coming out, and physically those even hurt her. So for most people, it's like, of course, Skye has like the best possible outcome, that there really is. It's totally on the inside and not on the outside like it is with, Gordon, or especially Raina. So I thought that was a funny little thing, and getting a little bit of the history and stuff like that, and seeing Skye's father and how he's basically trapped inside this little room where he has no windows. He's like freaking out and stuff, and they won't let him see Skye because he has no self control. Gordon knows that. I'm assuming he kind of got those orders from Skye's mother and maybe even the other heads of Afterlife. But it makes perfect sense. I mean, he doesn't have any self control, especially when it comes to Skye. If it's he can't see her, like in this case, or she's in danger in any way, he flips out. He kind of goes into like sort of a Hulk rage, and he'll just like destroy people or he'll break stuff and all sorts of things. He's obviously, we kind of saw in this episode, he's not strong enough to obviously break out of the room he's in. Otherwise, he would have done that by now. But he's just destroying everything in the room. He's trying to beat up Gordon, and it's just interesting. Like, he's in this area, he's so close in proximity, but he just has no way to escape, no way to really get out. And Skye really doesn't know where he is and has no way to get to him either. So don't know when they'll end up meeting up again, if they even do. And if they do, once again, it'll probably be after Skye really masters her powers. That way, her seeing him won't trigger this insane seismic response out of her, and it'll allow for the three of them to really have a sort of family sit down, like, this is what happened, this is how I'm alive and stuff, even though I was dead then. Apparently, I'm so confused. That's like the biggest question to me right now, is how her mother is alive. And something I really noticed is that she has all these scars kind of across her face and stuff. I don't know if that has to do with sort of her healing factor and how she, I don't know, like maybe someone, kind of how her abilities were taken from her, maybe it just took a lot of time, and she, even with her organs being transferred to Whitehall, and that's how he survived for so long, maybe she was still able to do that because genetically speaking, that was from her body. It would be like if they did that with Wolverine, he'd still heal from that. Like if they took his organs out, he would just grow new organs. So maybe that's kind of the same thing with her. It just took a long time. Like she was dead temporarily, and then kind of the scars just come about as just random battles, or maybe even just training other people who are trying to control their powers or something. But that's the really big question. I'm excited to get the answer for sure, which I think we all know won't come really, really soon. But I can't wait to see how they explain that one, and how she really just came back from the dead, or exactly what happened, and how long it had been since she died and did come back to life. I can't wait to get that answer, because I'm really excited to just learn anything and everything about her character and how all that stuff kind of went down after Whitehall basically harvested her organs so that he could become young again. So can't wait to see that stuff. It was really cool to have her back. I like the actress as well. I've liked her since I saw her in Dollhouse. So she's kind of back in this. She was in the 100 recently as well. So it was kind of cool to see her come back in this show, because I thought she died off in this, and that show is off for the season. So it's like, oh, and now she's come back. So it's kind of cool. Also with the character Lincoln, I didn't mention this. He was in the show The Tomorrow People, which was on the CW. Unfortunately, that got canceled, and it was really cool to see him in this show, because I like the actor. I like all the actors in that show, at least a couple of the main characters, like 3 out of 5 so far. I've seen in other shows, 2 of which are on Flash, which I thought was kind of funny. But it was cool to see him on there just because I like the actor. So that's like a random thing for anyone who watched The Tomorrow People. I watched that when it was on CW as well. So it's cool to see those actors kind of get new jobs, because I liked them as actors. So that was another little thing. The stuff inside of S.H.I.E.L.D. that was going on with Fitz and Simmons, I thought was really awesome. And Gemma kind of helping out Fitz and helping him escape with this little cube, and trying to figure out what's inside of it and things like that. And she, of course, did a specific little thing to help him realize, like, hey, you got to take off. I'm gonna kind of do this. We're obviously smarter than everyone here, so let's mentally work together and communicate. You get out of here. You take this, and we have a duty. And I love that the way they did it with Gemma saying like we have a responsibility to help Shield and follow the orders of Shield, and you could tell like just the way she phrased like it could be taken either way. Like for the people who are around them, it's like okay, she realizes that we are Shield, we have a responsibility to uphold because we are Shield and that's what we do. So she's sticking with us because she's sticking with Shield. And then in the actual sense between her and Fitz, it's like for us, Shield is Coulson, and I thought that was just really cool. And then and in one way that really connects the two of them to exactly what May said, where she's like Shield and Coulson are the same thing. So it was really cool to have that scene between them, and she helped him escape, and now he's kind of off on his own, and he has to find out where everyone else is, and he has to kind of take his own avenues if he has any connections outside the Shield and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see where he goes. Like maybe he'll go home and we'll actually see his parents or something just funny like that. Like I don't know where his character could go, but he's kind of off on his own and he has to find Coulson, and while they're off looking for Ward so that they can go in and then go from Ward to get to Skye, he has to find them and unfortunately kind of deal with Ward again, which we saw early on this season, which was definitely some of the most memorable moments of the season so far. And who knows how that stuff's gonna play out as well, because I don't think he's exactly over that. Like it ended, but really that was just because they got rid of Ward and he was being taken by the government, and obviously he escaped and killed his brother and just went down an even crazier path. So I'm excited to see where he goes, and I don't know what's gonna happen with Gemma. And like she kind of gives up in this episode saying like, oh, unless some miracle happens, this is just a useless box or something, which I don't know if this happened to anybody else, but when she said miracles, it instantly made me think of the Avengers with Scarlet Witch when they first introduced her and she had like those little floating blocks. That was like the first thing I thought of for some reason, even though the sort of Age of Miracles thing is something they made for the cinematic universe because they can't say mutants in it. But that was like the first thing I thought of. She has this little cube and she said miracles. I'm like, I just thought of the extra credit scene from the Avengers. So that was just me. I don't know if you guys thought about that. But I don't know what's going to really happen with her character. And then, of course, she's the only other person there aside from May who has been given a position on the board. And I'm assuming she's going to take this position just because at least if they do end up catching Coulson, she will be able to say, hey, he's a good guy. This is why we shouldn't just shoot him in the head and then move along. And Gonzalez even admitted that was kind of why she should accept the position, and she most likely will, because if that's the only way to help Coulson, then that's probably what she's going to do. And when she does that, it's really going to be weird because if they give her a position on the board, I have to assume they're going to give her some form of power at least, where she can make certain decisions here and there. So I'm not sure what to expect from that acceptance, where it's like now she's on the board with these people who kind of wanted to just take her out recently and still want to take out the guy that she trusts above anyone outside of Gemma. And she may not even trust her 100% because of the stuff between her and Fitz, depending on whether or not they actually get the chance to sit down and talk by themselves. But I'm excited for it. I don't know where things are going. We got yet another split with Fitz going off on his own little adventure now. So I'm still really excited. Everyone's still really split up. We got Peterson back. They're going to find Ward now. Skye's mother's freaking alive. Just blowing my mind on that one. And just a lot of other great stuff happened in this episode, and I'm incredibly excited for next week. We get to see exactly what happened with May and how she became the Cavalry, and they've been dropping those hints a little bit this season, where it's like this happened back then in this location, and this is a part of why you're called the Cavalry, because you had to take out a superpowered person, stuff like that. So I'm excited to get that, and hopefully it's not too much of the episode, because I'd love for the present to kind of get advanced, especially answers as far as to how Skye's mother is alive, and of course what's going to happen once Coulson, Hunter, and Peterson end up meeting with Ward and Agent 33 again. So I'm excited. We're going to get to see why she's the cavalry. We're going to get a couple other answers. We're going to get training for Skye and her mother, possibly a little mother-daughter scene there where she actually tells her. I doubt it so early on, but I'm hoping. But I want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and what do you guys think is going to happen with Fitz now that he's kind of gone off on his own? Like, where is he going to go? How is he going to end up meeting with Coulson and the rest of the team again? What are his avenues? Like, what are his possible avenues? Who does he know that hasn't already been introduced in the series? Will he just, kind of end up going back home and just getting, like, his old tech and making it amazing or something? Or is he just going to find someone new? Like, what do you guys think Fitz is going to do to get back in touch with Coulson and, kind of help rebuild the S.H.I.E.L.D. that we know from pretty much the entire universe? So, I'm hoping it works out. I'm sure it will, because heroes always win. But I'm excited for it, of course. Like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.